Okay, recording started. Yep. So, welcome back, everyone. This meeting, and now we'll have our evaluation workshop. So, now I request Toastmaster Amish to start with it and introduce our keynote speaker. Over to you, Toastmaster Amish.
Thank you, Sajid Adams, Toastmaster Sanat. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Readers and Debaters Evaluation Mastery Workshop. With the contest season approaching, today isn't about learning what an evaluation is. Majority of us in this meeting room already know how to evaluate a speech. Today is about something more challenging. How do we turn a good evaluation into a contest level evaluation? Over the course of next 60 minutes or so, we are going to learn, observe, evaluate, challenge our own thinking, and refine our approach. I would like us to approach today's workshop as practitioners, not participants sitting through a lecture. When we observe the practice speaker, don't simply ask yourself, did I like the speech? Ask yourself, what worked? Why did it work? What could make it better? And how would I communicate that to the speaker? To guide us through today's journey, we have someone who will challenge not only our evaluation techniques, but also the way we think about evaluation. With that, please help me join me in welcoming our evaluation mentor, Toastmaster Sneha. Over to you.
Am I audible?
No, your video seems to be frozen.
Okay. Yeah, actually it's my network problem, but I'll still start because it will eventually come, okay? It will eventually show my screen. So let
Sure.
me just begin. Um, First of all, let me ask all of you, what do you understand by evaluation? Because we have been here around in Toastmasters and we have been evaluating a lot. But I would like to hear from one of you, what exactly do you understand by evaluation? Can anyone tell me? Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. Uh, so I can't see any hand raises. Can anyone? Okay, I'll call out. Mm, let's call upon the club president, Indranil. Indranil, you have been around since 2015. So I would just like to ask
Yeah.
you in very precisely, I mean, what do you understand by evaluation? In just one or two lines.
In Toastmasters context, what I understand by evaluation is to really analyze someone's speech and give feedback, which is helpful to the speaker, which encourages him to kind of come back to this stage and give another speech, being better prepared next time around.
Wonderful. Great. All right. So one other question that we need to ask apart from what evaluation is why do we evaluate? Why do we evaluate? And let me ask this to Nilima. Nilima, why do we evaluate?
Evaluation is required to make the speaker understand how his or her speech is received by the audience and give constructive feedback that they can then work upon and improve from there on.
Okay, great, wonderful. Yes. So that's exactly why we evaluate. Now, let me allow to share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
All right. So I was just feeling the stage when I was participating in this contest. And even before the contest began, I saw one of my co contestants. He was standing in a corner and murmuring something. I just went up to him and I asked him, what are you doing? He said, I'm practicing my speech. And I was a little surprised. Practicing? I asked him, how are you practicing your evaluations? And he said that, no, it really helps when you practice. Sorry, when you prepare for it. Not practice, but I'm preparing for it. I was very surprised. And I went back to my mentor and asked him, does it really help when you actually prepare your evaluations? Which means you think about the points beforehand that I'm going to comment on these aspects of the speech. Maybe the delivery, maybe the transitions, maybe the hand gestures. So I asked him, does it make sense? And so I asked this question to Dennis Dawson, who was my earlier mentors, one of my earlier mentors. And he had been a district champion multiple times. And I said, obviously not. This is not what evaluations are meant for. How can you prepare for an evaluation? And that got me thinking. I eventually realized that we can practice evaluation, but we cannot really prepare for it. I have seen this so many times not just in contests, but even in clubs. So what happens many times in clubs, you know the speaker already who you are evaluating, right? As an evaluator, assigned evaluator. So you know that they have problem with stage movement, they have problem with pace. You come prepared that I'm going to comment on their pace, and you have the points ready with you, the explanation ready with you. I find that not helpful at all. Does it help the speaker? Can you tell me what is wrong with this when we come prepared for our evaluation? Sangeetha, what happens when we come prepared for our evaluations?
I think we have to do the fill in the blanks according to the speaker's speech.
Wonderful. Precisely that, yeah. It's more like a fill in the blank that we get in exams. We already know it's called the cookie cutter approach. Well, that is still fine, but we have even reasoned it out beforehand. And that is where the damage is done. People come to your club looking at the quality of your evaluations. How much are you serving them? How much you're benefiting them? Because otherwise, it's just a platform where speakers come and practice. But evaluations is what actually is adding value to their performance. And that is why they'll come back to you again. So, preparation, no. Practice, yes. Okay, that's what we need to do. We need to practice more and more. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see my the screen. Can you see my screen? I think you can only hear my voice, right?
Yes.
Okay, no problem. I'll go ahead with it because I've joined from two different networks and still there is some issue. Okay. So now there are two very important aspects of evaluation. One is active listening and the other is critical thinking. Active listening and critical thinking. Can anyone tell me what is the difference between listening and active listening? We are listening, we are paying attention, we are attentive. What do you mean by active listening?
Active listening would be when you pay attention to everything, to the speech, to the movements, and how the speaker conducts himself or herself on the stage. So here you have to be very aware of what's going around. And then you have to give, you didn't ask the second question, then you have to give a critical appraisal that will be your evaluation. I could be wrong. Yeah, Sneha, I would like to see your pretty face. So let's not have
I'm
that. Yeah, let's have your face. Yeah.
and I'm not sure if you can see my face because I have a
Yeah,
meet and
I can see your face. Yeah, I can
can
see your
see.
face.
Okay,
Very
great.
pretty. Yeah. And I'm N,
Thank you
by the
so
way.
much.
I'm N.
And okay, and yeah, thank you so much. All right, and great answer. You're saying something?
I'm from Goa.
Great, great. Good to have you here, and great answer. That's precisely what we mean by active listening. So there are two things. One is we hear. When we hear, we are just hearing the words. We're receiving the words. Okay. When we are listening, we are trying to understand or decode the message, right? And when we are actively listening, we are doing both. We are receiving the words and we are also at the same time trying to understand the message. Okay, so this is what active listening is all about. Now, let me give you an example. I remember when I was a very new Toastmaster, I used to transcribe the speeches when I had to evaluate someone. I used to write long, long sentences, almost documenting the speech. And as a result, I was not able to pay attention to any of the verbal expression or non-verbal expression of the speaker. And I ended up with a good transcript of the speech that I can maybe access later and understand what went wrong and went right with the words. But speech is not about words. Evaluation is about attentively, actively, and not passively listening to the speaker. So I've put up a very a line which is appropriate to evaluations on my slide, which is unfortunately not visible. I'll just share that with you, read it out loud. So, an evaluator doesn't need to capture the entire speech. An evaluator needs to capture the moments that matter. All right, we need to capture the moments. We don't have to record the words. And which is why we make notes, we take notes, but we write in short form. We make tweetable sized small notes so that we can just quickly refer to them, write them down, and again back to the speaker. We need notes, but in short form, right? So that is what evaluations do: active listening and critical thinking. Now, what is critical thinking? And how is it different from criticizing the speaker? And so, friends, I'm going to talk more about the theory behind evaluations because after spending so many years, I've been around for 7 years and then I've been a part of 3 clubs. And I've seen this so many times that there is no critical thinking. As I said earlier, that people come prepared. Or if they are not prepared, they would just pick up the tropes, the things that they've been using in their previous meetings. So there is no improvement. Evaluations are also a form of mini speech. What do you affect in yourself when you come prepared for evaluations and not practice your evaluations, but you're preparing? What happens is you're affecting 3 things: active listening, critical thinking, we are going to talk about it, and the third is authenticity. Your authentic voice as a speaker. As I said, evaluations are also a form of speeches. So you are losing that authenticity. You sound preachy, you sound robotic, you sound prepared. And the moment you start sounding prepared, you lose your voice as a speaker because it's an impromptu form of speaking, which involves more of listening skills. So, 2 things: active listening and critical thinking. Now, can anyone tell me how is critical thinking different from criticizing? Can anyone? Okay, let me ask Madhura. Madhura is one of the evaluators. Madhura,
Yes,
how
yes.
is? Yeah, please go ahead. Did you hear the question?
So, if you see critical thinking, The way I see it, yes, yes, how critical thinking is different from criticizing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
correct.
as for my point of view, when we talk about critical thinking, it is about analyzing a thing from different perspectives. It is about questioning things and not just taking it for the face value. That is critical thinking, where it's the way you look at things. And I feel
Very nice.
criticizing is more of how you deliver the analysis, or or like how you deliver something. So when you're criticizing, you are just looking at the negatives of the thing. But in critical thinking, you look at it more holistically, both the positives and the negatives. That's how I differentiate criticizing
Very
and
well
critical
said.
thinking.
Exactly. Yes. That's what the difference is. But to be even more precise, critical thinking lets us ask questions. Now, for example, you see that the speaker is using a lot of gestures. Okay. So that is just an observation. That is just an observation. But when you start asking, did those gestures help the speech or help elevate the speech, or did those gestures distract me? Why did I feel distracted? What were the exact moments in the speech when that happened, when I felt distracted? Okay, so when you ask these questions, you're doing what? You're contemplating, you're thinking, you're processing. And that's exactly what is differentiating us from AI, right? Critical thinking and active. And we are getting a very, very good opportunity here in Toastmasters to practice those skills: active listening and critical thinking. Okay, so what evidence do I have from the speech to support my claim that I am feeling distracted? When did I feel distracted? Why did I feel? And did those gestures help the speech or diminish the value? All right, so when we ask these questions, we are actually contemplating and doing critical thinking, practicing critical thinking. Okay, now I'll give you a few sentences and you have to tell me what form of uh, feedback it is. Okay. All right. So you spoke very quickly. Now imagine a speaker is speaking too fast. Hannah, and I tell him, you spoke very quickly during the second story, and I found it difficult to process the details. What kind of feedback it is? Sanat, did you hear the sentence?
Uh, yeah, I heard. Yes. So, yeah, so you are asking what kind of feedback should be given,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
positive or negative, like that, for that particular thing.
Yeah, I just said you spoke very quickly during the story, and I found it difficult to process the details. Would you
Yeah.
call it an evaluation or a part of evaluation?
Um, yeah, it was I would call it an observation, my observation about it, or what I felt about it.
Okay, okay, fine. So, yes, it is a feedback and it could be a part of evaluation, but it is not evaluation. And what is missing, I'm going to tell you. Now, I'll give you a second sentence. You need to slow down. You need to slow down. I would like to ask this to VH, DTM to VH. I can't see anyone's faces here. So, all right. Anybody would like to answer that? Sangeeta? Uh, I just said you need to slow down. Is it an evaluation? Is it a feedback? Or what kind of response is it?
The feedback.
It is a feedback. Okay. But it's okay. All right. So you need to slow down is more of an advice. You're advising someone. And that's what we do all the time. Sometimes the advice is totally unsolicited, not asked for, uncalled for. But we still do that. And we do that with our friends, with our family, siblings, subordinates also. But that's still an advice. It's not an evaluation. And what is wrong with an advice? What is wrong with an advice? It's fine, and you're trying to help someone, but it doesn't sound polite. It doesn't sound compassionate. And that's what we are practicing here. So we advise also sometimes may risk to sound condescending, and it might hurt someone, right? So we are not practicing giving advice here. And criticism, now we come to the thing, criticism that differentiates from critical thinking. Now, if I say, you speak too fast, again, it's a kind of judgmental statement. It can sound like a criticism, and this is not what we are looking for in evaluations. All right. Now, I'll just give you a sample of what an evaluation might look like. Your pace worked well in the opening, but it became noticeably faster during the story. Because your objective was to make the story emotionally engaging, slowing down at the key moments would give the audience more time to absorb them. Right? So, how did it sound? How was it different from advice, criticism, just a simple observation? What was the difference? Can anyone tell me? What was the
This
difference?
this statement was not focusing on evaluator, but it was more focusing on his speech because you're more because earlier you were saying you need to slow down. It's you're more criticizing that it's going to evaluator, but now you're saying that your pace could have been slowed down and it would have enhanced your speech uh, impact. So this will be more focused on speech. So it will be more a
Very nice.
constructive experience.
Correct. That's the difference. Sometimes we start giving feedback or evaluating the speaker. We are not, you brought up a very good point. We start evaluating the speaker, and how does a speaker sense that you're not evaluating their speech and them? Through the word choice and your tone, the way you deliver that feedback. So this sounds like advice. You speak too fast. That sounds like criticism, a judgment. And so the speaker might take it personally. And many times it's a very new speaker. They are there for the first time on stage. And you are, instead of alleviating their anxiety, you are making it more intense. Okay, so it might have a long term impact on them. So be very careful with our words, and that is why evaluations are very important in Toastmasters. Now, I was driving down home a few months back, and it was a very long road travel. So I just turned on this. By the way, I think I can share my speech right now. Just let me try doing that. Okay. Yeah. I can give the PDF to you later if in case it doesn't work, but I'll just, can you see the screen now?
No, your screen isn't visible, Sneha. Yeah,
I
it's
think
starting
It's
to
coming
share.
up. It's coming up.
Coming up. Yeah.
it's coming.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, great, great. So we saw active listening versus critic.
Hasn't loaded yet.
Okay, all right. So let it load. I'll just continue. Now, I was saying that I just turned on this audio book my mentor suggested me to listen to. And it's called Radical Candor by Kim Scott. So this book is about evaluations and giving feedback to people at your workplaces. It's mostly about it, talks about that. And that's exactly the kind of pattern that we follow in Toastmasters and what is expected out of evaluators. So this book spoke about compassion versus empathy. Now, earlier, before listening to this book, I thought evaluation is mostly about empathy. I empathize with the speaker. You could have been in their place and all of that. But there is a difference between these two concepts. Let me give you an example. Imagine that a big boulder is rolling down the road and it is coming straight to Amish. Okay. And I'm watching this happen from a distance. And I say to myself, oh my God, you know, poor Amish, it might hurt him. And it's really, I need to do something. But I just stay there and I have this empathy with him. That is, something might go wrong. I hope nothing happens to him. This is what? This is empathy. Why? Because I am emotionally connected And I am experiencing the situation that it could happen with me as well. Now, what is compassion? I look around and I shout for help. That please help, my friend, it might seriously hurt him, please help. Or I try to warn him that Amish, please step aside. This is what? This is compassion. So what is the difference? Can you understand the difference between empathy and compassion? Empathy was just feeling. You care for the speaker. But compassion is also, there's one more thing in compassion, one thing additional. You don't just feel, you're also
Acting on it.
very good. Yes. Action. Compassion is action oriented. And that is what we practice in evaluations. It's not just empathy. What happened today? Did anyone see the World Championship today in the morning? So there was one, no, okay. There was one contestant who forgot his lines at the world stage. It was a final championship stage. And he forgot his speech. 3 minutes into the speech, and he blanked out. But he stood there. He stood there and he started walking for a long while, but everyone in the audience maintained silence. And when he was called back on the stage for the certificate, everybody gave him a standing ovation. So that's what we try to build here. It's not just empathy, it's also action that encouraged him to come back. And he said he ended his this certificate session by saying that, see you again in Paris. So that's going to happen next year, right? So that's what we do here. We actually divert our attention from just being empathetic to the speaker to being helpful to him, advising, not advising, but giving some help that he can act upon. All right. Now, this book actually has the screen loaded. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes, your slides are visible.
Okay. Great. So we saw feedback. This is feedback. You spoke very quickly during the story. This sounds like advice. This sounds like criticism. And this is evaluation. Now, this was the book that I was talking about, Compassion versus Empathy. This book gives a very, very clear view of how evaluation and feedback work at workplaces and what they should sound like. Okay? So, whatever I am presenting today mostly comes from this book. So, empathy says, I can imagine what you're going through. And compassion says, I can see what you're going through, that you're going through something difficult, and I want to help. I want to help. It is more action oriented. Now, this book also gives this diagram. It's on X and Y axis. Now, it looks a little complicated, but it's very, very simple to understand. Now, there are two extremes here on the X axis and Y axis. One says that you care personally for the speaker, you don't care, there is silence, and then there is on the other extreme right hand side, that's you challenge them directly. Okay. So where
Sneha,
does
I'm not
evaluation?
able to see the page. It's right now at feedback page. It's not moving.
Oh, okay. I think it'll come in sometime. It's loading. Probably it's loading because I'm on that side. Okay. So where do you think, okay, there are four quadrants. It's X and Y axis. There are four quadrants. So at the top, there is care personally. Here, there is silence. On the X axis, left-hand side is silence. Right-hand side is challenge directly. On the Y axis, at the lowest point is don't care. And at the top is care personally. So where would evaluations fall? Can you tell me? Nilima, because I think you've been following it. Can you tell me where
Right?
evaluations fall?
Right quadrant. Top right.
Yes, correct. You care personally and you challenge directly, right? That is where evaluations. Now, I think my connection again was lost. So never mind. Now, there are four quadrants. Here in the quadrant that you mentioned, right hand side, is actually the radical candor. Radical means what? Radical literally means extreme. or something which is drastic, radical. But in case of evaluations, it means challenging someone directly. Challenging someone directly. And candor means openness or frankness. But here it also means helping someone honestly, giving your feedback honestly. So it's more about honesty and politeness. So candor is more humble. So if you combine these two together, radical candor means you have to challenge the speaker directly and you have to care for them personally. If you just care for them, but you keep the care to yourself, you're not helping him, then that care is of no value, right? And candor means sharing it with open heart, with honesty, but with politeness. That is radical candor. So evaluation is all about radical candor, the second quadrant. So in the first quadrant, there is ruinous empathy. There's something called ruinous empathy. Now, what is ruinous empathy? For example, uh, Amish is, again, I observed that Amish is my go-to person today, by the way. So I just, I observed that he's giving a speech and he's pacing up and down the stage very fast. Now, I am his evaluator. I don't want to hurt him. He's a good friend. So I tell him that, Amish, great job. Keep practicing. Don't worry about anything. Great job. I don't mention anything about his stage movement. So this is empathy. I care for him personally, but I'm not challenging him directly. So it's candor, but there is no radical in it. There's no challenge. Right? So ruinous, that is called ruinous empathy. You have empathy, but it's ruinous. It's not helping the speaker. And I've seen this so many times in our club meetings as well. People come, they don't challenge the speaker. They're like, yeah, fine. Maybe they are their competitor. Maybe they don't care for them enough. So even if you don't care for them in real life, in your personal life, but there, when you're playing the role of an evaluator, you need to show respect and concern for the speaker and help them challenge directly in a humble, polite way. So radical means extreme, challenging directly, and candor means caring personally. All right, so these two things. Now, the second quadrant in the book, Radical Candor book by Kim Scott, the second quadrant is about obnoxious aggression. There is another quadrant, but we are not going to talk about that because that's usually not observed in Toastmasters. It's manipulative. So we are not using that here. Obnoxious aggression. Now, I remember I was a very new Toastmaster and I was a test speaker in one of the contests. And there was this one contestant who told me that, you know what, you should, do you have a Netflix subscription? I was like, I said, no. He said, you should get one because I think you should observe the comedians there. Observe Kapil Sharma how when he speaks and observe their body language. And I became very defensive about my speech. I got totally zoned out. Whatever he said after that, I missed it. I couldn't follow him. And that's what happens when you are too direct. You're challenging directly. Maybe you want to help, but that's too direct. There is no care personally. And that happens with if it's your mentor and they are doing it off the club, off the meeting. They are directly challenging you, but they are not on stage. While you are evaluating, we need both the things, challenge directly and care personally. Otherwise, people become defensive, and guess what? They won't love for you to become their evaluator next time. This is what happens, right? So that's obnoxious aggression. Okay, we don't want that. Now, you might think that I have delivered the truth, but you've also made sure that the speaker would never want to have you in front of them again. Okay, so what was missing here? Care. So radical candor says, I have had this line on my slide. It says, I care enough to tell you, and I tell you because I care. I care enough to tell you, and I care you. I tell you because I care. Okay, so I can just say that, Amish, I observed you had a great message in your conclusion, but because you were pacing up and down the stage, it took a little attention away from your message. And if you could just step forward when you are delivering those key lines and stand still, face the audience, I think we can focus better on your message and it will add greater impact to your speech. So, what did I do? I explained the exact point. Where was the distraction? What did it do to me? And how can the speaker make it better? I had all these points in my evaluation. So that different, and of course, the tone, the way I delivered, it's as if you are talking to a friend. You're talking to your son. You're talking to your sibling. That tone, if you have this in mind, then automatically the tone shifts from being aggressive or direct or too direct to softer and polite. Now, there is also a screen which talks about, wait, I'll just share and try again, just in case. Let me know if you can see the screen now. Can you see it?
It's still loading.
It will come. Okay, so I have come to the slide which talks about the magic of I statement, I statements. We need to use more of I statements instead of using the word you, that you should do this, you can do this, I would suggest you to follow this. I would suggest is still fine. The emphasis has to be on your personal observation. Okay. For example, if you make simple observations, you can say, I heard, I felt, I noticed. If you want to reinforce positive impact, you could use words like I liked, I loved, I enjoyed. Okay. Now, if you want to point out some distracting moments in the speech, you could just say, I was confused by, I didn't understand, I disliked. So use more I statements because that is your personal opinion. What you found interesting or impactful in the speech, somebody else might have found it distracting. So the opinion changes. Evaluations could be very subjective, right? So you'd start from yourself that this is how the speech impacted me. Okay. Now, if you want to make the speech, suggest the speaker to make the speech more effective, you could just say, I wanted to know, I like to see this improvement in your speech. Okay, so more of I statements. And why do we call it magic of I statement? Because it's not generic. It very clearly, explicitly conveys the speaker that this is your personal opinion and this is coming from your brain and not from anywhere else. And this is not affecting the speaker personally. Okay, now we come to what to evaluate. What to evaluate. I won't go by the speaking ballot because during the club meetings, we speakers have their own objectives. Sometimes they want very specific evaluations, and so I'm not going by that. Otherwise, you can just look at the evaluation ballot, the speaker ballot that you get for ISC, and look for what are the points that the judges usually evaluate on. But I'm not going by that method. There are actually three important elements that we must observe. One is the speech content. Now, speech content means how did the speaker begin their speech? Was there any rhetorical question or was it a setting? Did they open it with a dialogue? Okay, that is the opening. Then the body of the speech, which means the stories that they had. Okay, so you can talk about that. If anything stood out to you in particular, for example, if there was some character you saw, you thought that it was a brilliant characterization, you described that character very well, you point that out in your evaluation. Okay, then there is the conclusion part, the concluding part. How was the call to action? Did they have any callback? What was their foundational phrase? Any catchphrase or foundational phrase? You can talk about that if that stood out to you. You don't need to write everything about the content, just two or three things that matter to you. Okay. Then comes the delivery, the speech delivery. How did the speaker delivered their speech, which is the nonverbal expression, which can include their hand gestures, expressions, body language, stage movement, pacing, voice modulation, even the way they have dressed, even their confidence. Maybe if someone is looking anxious, it's not explicitly anywhere on stage, but you sensed it. You just sensed it. So write the moment when this was the paragraph or this was the point in their speech when they looked a little anxious. Maybe their hands were shaking. It's just your observation. All right. And you talk about that. Try to think out of the box, because if there are two, three evaluators, something which is very obvious, everybody will point that out. Okay. So try to give something to the speaker which is not obvious to them. Even they might have sensed it that, I was nervous and my hands were shaking. Give them something else, something unique to have. Then comes the speech impact. How did that speech impacted you personally? Now, I've observed many seasoned evaluators, they use this point in their introduction. When they start their evaluation, they have this one line that, your speech reminded me of my father and my childhood. It took me back to my college days. How did that speech impact you personally? What did it remind you of? Or how were you, on a heart to heart basis, affected by that speech? Give that point in their introduction or anywhere in the speech. But that should sound connecting. That will tell the speaker that, yes, you have actually heard their speech. So have that personal affected moment in your evaluation. Okay, so talk about the speech impact. So three things: what to evaluate, speech content, speech delivery, and the speech impact. All right. Now, how to take notes. As I said, avoid writing long sentences. Make small, short form notes, tweetable sized notes. And for that, you can use certain symbols. And I learned this from another very seasoned speaker I was interviewing in one of my podcasts. And he showed me I have it in here as well. I'm going to share that PDF with you guys. So in that, he used asterisk to point out if something was confusing for him. He used a plus sign for commendation, negative sign, minus sign for recommendations, and question mark again for confusing. And sorry, asterisk was for if he found anything insightful. Question mark was something he found confusing. So just short symbols, small symbols, and short notes. That is it. You don't need to write the entire speech. Actively listen to what the speaker is saying and find out those moments which stood out to you. That is it. Okay. Now we come to the why and how. Now, I've seen so many speakers make this mistake while they are evaluating their fellow Toastmasters, is that when they give commendations, they talk about what they liked and why did they like it. Right? We usually say that this was for example, I loved the call to action and I liked it because it resonated with me. Right? You have given the what and the why. But when it comes to recommendations, they miss out on the how and why, or sometimes why, or sometimes how. So in recommendations, there are three things: what, why, and how. What could be improved? For example, um, there was some point they made, but they did not elaborate on it. So you could just say that, how about including some story, personal example to elaborate that point? Or how about telling us, how did that affect you personally? Or there was no personal story. How about having one? How about talking about your personal anecdote, sharing that with us? So include that why and how. This was what you thought could be improved, that there was no personal story. This is what you observed. Why? Why is a personal story important? Because that establishes the credibility of a speaker. So mention that in your evaluation. This was what was missing. This is why it matters and how they can incorporate it in their speech. So you could just say that, tell them that, think of that one moment when you felt this way. Talk about that moment with us. So you have also helped them improve. So in commendations, we have what and why. In recommendations, we have what, why, and how. Why does it matter and how can they improve? These are the one additional question in recommendation, that is how. Okay. Now we come to one of the final slides, which is concluding your speech. Sorry, the structure, evaluation structure. So you start with one introductory line. You just tell them that, Nilima, your speech reminded me of my story of perseverance when I was competing in a evaluation contest or whatever. You connect with the speaker instantly when you say that. So start your speech with how it affected you on a heart to heart basis. So that comes in your introduction. Then the body of your evaluation, which starts with a clear transition. Have a clear transition that you have moved from introduction to commendations. Now, we usually follow a sandwich approach. However, that can be avoided during speech club evaluations in regular meetings. You can directly come to the point if a speaker is too affected or want to hear about one or two particular aspects. So you can avoid the sandwich approach in club meetings. But during the contest, this is the format we usually follow. Why? Because it gives a good cushioning. When we leave the speaker with a sandwich, a good cushioning, they feel motivated to come next time and speak. That is why we follow this approach. So, introduction, in the body, we have two commendations and two recommendations. Usually, this is the case. Why? Because it's easier for them to have two recommendations. Two are pretty easy for them to digest. It doesn't become overwhelming for the speaker. That is why we keep only two recommendations. Okay. Two commendations and have clear transition. For example, when you move from introduction to commendations, you can just say, okay, so here are two things that stood out to me. Or this is for the glow. Now we can move to the grow. So speakers have some innovative transitions. Now, this much you can prepare. You can come prepared with this much, these transitioning lines beforehand. This is fine. This preparation is fine for evaluation. Okay, so move on from introduction to commendation, have a good transitioning line. Then you move from commendation to recommendation. Again, tell them very clearly. Now, I would suggest that you go for these two improvements, or I have these 2 points to elevate your speech. Have that clear transitioning line in your evaluation. Okay, then we have the recommendation, and then never forget to summarize your points. The moment you see the yellow card, start summing up. Summarization is very, very important because that actually helps the speaker understand quickly what were the points you suggested. Okay, so it's easier for them to carry home those points in short. So have that summary ready with you. Start summarizing when you see the yellow card. And leave the speaker with one concluding line after the summary. Never end your evaluation right after the summary. Have that one concluding line that maybe I wish you keep coming up on showing up on stage and share many more stories of perseverance with us. Or I wish you all the luck for your competition, whatever it is. Just have one motivating line in the end for the speaker. Okay. So all in all, today I wanted you to all have three takeaways. One is the radical candor, which is compassion versus empathy. And here in evaluations, we practice more compassion. So, radical candor. Second was the magic of I statements. Use more of I saw, I observed, I suggest. Okay. And during recommendations, use what, why, and how. Answer these questions. What can be improved? Why do you think needs that it needs that improvement, and how can they improve? These 3 points. So three important takeaways. Even if you remember these three, everything else is fine. Okay. And I'm again very, very sorry about the presentation, but I'm going to make a PDF out of it and I'm going to share with all. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm open to questions, any queries, then we can start with our practice. How many of you are new Toastmasters here? Maybe 6 months, one year. Okay, all of you are seasoned Toastmasters. Great.
Nilima is 6 months old.
All right, great, Nilima.
Sneha, a
Good to have
question.
you.
A question.
Yes,
Will
yes.
all of us get a chance to evaluate something? Will
Yeah.
all of us get a chance to evaluate?
We have three evaluators for today's practice. And I think they have been assigned already their roles.
Okay, they have to evaluate.
Yeah. But we can practice later during the club meeting. Later when you come, we can practice that. Maybe you can sign up for a role and then practice. Is that fine?
No, could I just, in 2 lines, could I just at least try, attempt afterwards, if there is time?
Yeah. If there is time, we can take that up. No
And
problem.
these three
Yes.
evaluators are going to take part in the contest, I presume.
No, this
No.
is only for practice, and
Okay,
we are
okay,
only
okay.
doing
Fine.
practice.
We'll do it. Thank you.
Okay, yes. So, Amish, I think we can start with the practice now.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Toastmasters Sneha. It's now time for us to have a little sort of a demonstration of what Toastmaster Sneha has been taking us through. So what we'll have next now is a test speech. And after that, we will have 3 evaluators evaluate that speech. Post that, Toastmasters Sneha will share her comments, her areas of improvement, what she liked about the evaluators, where the evaluators can improve themselves. That will be our next segment. And post that, yes, with time permitting, we can take additional comments as well. So with that, let me introduce us everyone to our test speaker for today, rather practice speaker. He is a software developer with 6 years of experience, currently serving as the president of Mulund Toastmasters Club. So please help me, please everyone help me welcome our practice speaker for today, Toastmaster Varun.
Hello. Yes.
Yes, Varun, you
Amish,
are
can you?
audible and visible.
Yeah. I wanted to confirm that I'm audible and visible, right, to all of
Yes,
you?
you need to move a little bit back. Your face is not visible.
Okay. Now?
Yes, now you're fully visible.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, so
Can
I'll
I?
begin. I will introduce you with your speech title, then you can begin.
Okay. Before that, I would like to see the timer cards as well.
Yes. Toastmaster Nilima, could you please show the transitioning of the timing cards?
Yes. White background.
Green?
Yeah.
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 All right. Okay, Toastmaster Varun, come out of your comfort zone. Come out of your comfort zone. Toastmaster Varun, over to you.
Some teachers through the books. Some teachers through their lectures. But I had one teacher in my life who taught me something in a very complete different and unexpected manner. This was when I was in college. Apart from doing engineering, I also had interested in doing some acting. And when I finally got a chance to do a play it at our college, I was elated. I was thinking, today I'll do one play, then 2 plays, then multiple plays, then TV shows, Bollywood, Hollywood, Oscar. And with that mindset, with that happiness, I entered the rehearsal hall. There, our director was standing there. His name was Parag. Parag told me that, Varun, don't worry about anything. You just have to do your natural acting. In your very first thing, Varun, all you have to do is sit on a chair and read a book. You are sitting at a park. You just have to read the book and take happiness through the surroundings. I was like, okay, easy. And I started to do the same. I read the book and I was admiring the surroundings without expressing a single dialogue. And then Parag said, okay, Varun, very good. Now, in the continuation of the scene, a girl will come, sit beside you, and you have to do a talk. And I said, what? Girl? Yes, girl. Obviously, a girl will sit beside you, right, to talk. Shanti, come here. And Parag didn't know, and most of us don't know about one thing about me at that point of time. That I was comfortable doing stage plays. I was comfortable speaking in public. I was comfortable doing in many things. People will think it is uncomfortable, but the most uncomfortable thing for me is talking to a girl, that too with eye contact. And Parag said, Varun, okay, start to deliver your dialogues. And I did deliver my dialogues by looking at the tube light. And Parag said, Varun, Shanti is the actress, not the tube light. Tell your dialogues, seeing her. Look at her first, look at her. And I looked at her for a grand total of 4 seconds, which was the most I looked at any girl's eyes for my entire life at that point. And I started growing more and more uncomfortable. My director Parag realized this. In the scenes coming forward, he he never said me what is coming up, but he always threw sort of challenges. In one more scene, Parag instructed me, okay, Varun, all you have to do is you have to just go to the fruit seller and go to his cart and take an apple and say that I am purchasing this apple. And I was like, okay, easy. And then when I tried to do the scene, Parag was like, wait. Shanti, I was like, what does Shanti have to do in this thing? I have to just purchase my set of apples from this fruit seller. He was like, wait. I'll tell you. So Varun, I have made some modifications. Now, when you go to fetch that apple, even Shanti will go to take the same apple. It will create a beautiful moment, right? In my mind, I was thinking, what beautiful moment, Parag. What beautiful moment. So I started to shiver. I went to take the apple. Shanti also went to take the apple. And guess what I did? I was so nervous. Instead of catching the apple, I catch her wrist. And Shanti was like, what? I was like, what did I do? No. And I ran away. Parag said, come back, Varun, come back. Be calm. All you have to do is take the apple, and she'll also take the apple. What's the big deal in that? And after 1, 2, 3, 30, 50 takes, finally we were able to do the scene. Everyone in the rehearsal hall, he paid a side of, heaved a sigh of relief. And slowly, I became comfortable. At least with Shanti, I used to do handshakes like this with her. We had minimal interactions, and I was like, okay, I'm getting comfortable with this setup. As long as I don't have to do some like big touch like this. And came the final scene. In the final scene, Parag told me, Varun, all you have to do is get this file, go to the boss, give it to him, and come back. And I was like, okay. And Shanti is nowhere to be around. Okay, fine. Today is no Shanti. I can do this. So I was going to give the file when Parag said, wait, Varun. Sir, you said no Shanti. I said no Shanti, correct. Vaijanti. And he called Vaijanti. In case you don't know, Vaijanti was the most beautiful girl in my college. And Parag told me, Varun, all you have to do is look Vaijanti into the eye, say, I love you, and give a hug. I said, I love you and a hug. Slowly, I said, Vaijanti, I love you. And then I went on to give the most awkward hug in the entire theater history. But it was the end of the play. And when we actually did the play, I came out as with flying colors. I realized then that what was Parag's, my theater director's philosophy. It was not that he wanted to purposely make me uncomfortable. He wanted me to go into that deep uncomfortable zone to get my comfort back. His concept was simple. Make comfortable, be comfortable, but to be comfortable, you have to be first uncomfortable. Now, the only situation I'm uncomfortable is when I see the same theater director Parag whenever I meet him. Thank you. Over to Toastmaster Amish.
Thank you, practice speaker Varun. Time and Nilima, can we please have the time taken for the speech?
It was 7 minutes and 37 seconds.
7 minutes, 37 seconds?
Yes.
Yeah, evaluators, please make note of the time. So we will now, as like a regular contest, we'll have a 5-minute break, and I will move the 3 evaluator practitioners to the breakout room where they can take down notes and finalize their evaluations. Yeah, our main room here, we can have discussions going on since all our evaluators are in the practice room. So because this is just a test segment, yes, we are all welcome to have discussions, perhaps have a chat to Toastmaster Sneha as well. Share your thoughts, how you have liked the session so far. Well, if no one is speaking, I would like to thank Toastmaster Sneha for that wonderful session. Despite the technological challenges, she was very brave. She did not panic. She has put up a smile throughout her segment she carried today. So thank you very much for that, Toastmaster Sneha. And I'm sure even our other members would also share similar thoughts.
Thank you so much, Amish. Yes, I tried my best to overcome this issue, but couldn't share my presentation ultimately. But yeah.
Rosina, do you want to speak? You have raised your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that excellent session by Sneha, and especially for a newcomer like me. I've been in Toastmasters only for the last 3 or 4 months, and I've been connected with Sneha too. And she's an excellent orator, and today I experienced that as an evaluator, the way she took us point by point. I think this is going to help me so much in my Toastmasters journey. And Sneha, I'm going to connect with you again in person. And thank you so much. I learned a lot. Excellent session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cruzina, for coming, joining, and encouraging me. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sneha. This was a brilliant session. I think 3 key points to evaluate. And while I was listening to you, it brought to me so many examples where evaluations could have been perhaps better and what was missing in those evaluations, right? So as I will take on the role going forward, this is certainly going to help me. Can you talk briefly about what you do for children's storytelling? Because I was looking at your profile. So would love to hear from you since we have some time. Would it be okay, Toastmaster Amish, if we spend 1 minute or so?
Yeah, sure, no problem. We have 5 minutes. So while you're timing that period, yes, the floor is all yours. We can have any kind of.
Yeah, so would like to listen to you about what you do in the children's space, Toastmasters name.
Thank you, Nilima, for that question. So I used to take creative writing workshops for school children, and I conducted a few workshops for DPS students as well, Delhi Public School. And otherwise, I had my personal coaching in which I did this practice sessions, creative writing. So we usually just pick up one story and then we discuss the vocabulary around it, the ending, the characterization, dialogues, everything. We discuss in detail that story, dissect that story, and then we write our own. I just give prompts. We exchange prompts. Even I write with my students. So it's a very good practice and fun learning. It's not syllabus based or anything. It's just writing, free writing. And I've also written a book for children. It's flash fiction. It's called Grandma in the Stars. Very small, thin book, 48 pages, just to encourage kids to read more.
Sounds super interesting. I will check it out. Thank you so much. We have 15
Thank you.
seconds to go, Toastmaster Amish, till 5 minutes are over. Five minutes are up.
Okay, thank you, Toastmaster Nilima. So we have Toastmaster Indranil already available in this main room. So we will take his evaluation first. So now the timing guidelines are 2 to 3 minutes for you, Toastmaster Indranil. It's just how we have during a contest or a regular club meeting. So at 2 minutes, you'll have the green card. At 2 minutes, 30 seconds is yellow. And at 3 minutes is a red card. So with that, when you are ready, we can have your evaluation. Are you there, Toastmaster Indranil? Okay, he might be having some technical issues. I'm not sure where he is. Okay, we can move on with the next evaluator then. Let me invite the next evaluator. Just allow me a minute. Yeah, hi, Toastmaster Sangeetha, are you here now?
Yeah, I'm here. Am I audible?
Toastmaster, yes, you are. So Toastmaster Indranil is unreachable, so we'll have your evaluation first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So again, just reminder, timing guidelines, it's 2 to 3 minutes like a regular evaluation we conduct. Okay, so when you're ready, over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Amish. Toastmaster Varun, my target speaker, had humor in his entire speech from start to end. It was how he described in each situation how he was uncomfortable with a girl talking to. He was a fearless person, be he a public speaker, anything he could, but not talking to a girl. And admire his vulnerability he's putting out on stage and on camera, telling this out frankly. Second thing that I liked about his speech is the structure of the speech. Throughout the speech, from the dream of getting Oscars to getting award and being uncomfortable, how he shifted, and to at the end of the speech where he said and admitted that he was getting comfortable, but still, when Vajanti came, he still got uncomfortable. The third part of the speech that I liked is the stances he took when he was imitating a conversation with Vaijayanti or the other girl. He was having that conversations to and fro. The two things that I would like to recommend to make him a better speaker is that the background. The next time, Toastmaster Varun, whenever you are on camera, make sure you're aware of the space availability of your speaking area. Do check if I'm available, if I'm visible till here, or is it more because half of your head was getting cut and I was getting distracted because of that. So make sure how much back and forth I can move, as well as in the hand movements, how much can I move towards the hand. Second thing that I would like to recommend is the speech was not rehearsed much. I can see that Toastmaster Varun was fumbling in the first two paras of his speech. So I would say do practice that first two para as well as much you have practiced the conclusion and the second last para. Overall, great structure of speech, great humor. The only two things that I would recommend is camera presence as well as rehearse your speech a bit more. Over to you, Toastmaster Amish.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sangeetha, for that evaluation. We do have Toastmaster Indranil now available. So may I please request Toastmaster Indranil to now share his evaluation. Let me just spotlight him. Yeah. So Toastmaster Indranil, over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Amish. Some speeches inspire you. Some speeches make you laugh. Some speeches make you move out of your comfort zone. And today, the speech we heard from Toastmaster Varun had all of these three elements. The story instantly took me back to my college life and reminded me of the time when I had to make eye contact with a girl. Although I must admit I was less nervous than Toastmaster Varun. Now, what I loved about the speech, number one, the storytelling. It was relatable, it was funny. There were elements of voice modulation when he shouted Oscars. He was actually sitting on a bench reading a book, and the imagery of reaching out to that apple. So, all in all, it was a very visual speech that we heard. The second element, which I really loved about the speech, was humor. I've always felt that humor is one of the toughest component of a speech to crack, and today you had it in loads. We had the entire room in splits, and even those who had their camera off, I'm sure they would be laughing while hearing your speech. So really, really well done on that. Now, in order to make this good speech, or how can you make the speech a little better? I have a few recommendations for you. Number one was the pacing of the speech. What I felt is that the entire story took a whole lot of time on the speech, and in the end, you had to rush. So I was just thinking in my mind that when is the punchline going to come? When is the key takeaway going to come for me? So what I would advise you is to cut short the story a little bit and have it a little bit more focused during the conclusion so that it gets give the audience the time to kind of absorb the message that you were trying to convey. The second advice that I would have for you is to place the camera appropriately, because there were times in which there were elements of your body that was being cut out, and you were moving back and forth, right? Because of that, it was kind of a little bit difficult to follow some of your gestures. So in an online forum, I would advise you to place a camera a little bit more properly so that we can all see you. And the last but not the least, I would also encourage you to have a very strong call to action. The major theme of your speech was to get out of the comfort zone. And maybe you could have ended with a line like, fellow Toastmasters, what are you doing to get out of your comfort zone? It gives something for the audience to take away. Overall, a fascinating story, which was very humorous and very entertaining. If you could just only work on the timing, a little bit on placing your camera properly and the call to action, I believe it would make the speech even more valuable in terms of content and action. With that, I hand it over back to the workshop facilitator, Toastmaster Amish.
Thank you, Toastmaster Indranil. I would now just head to the breakout room to invite our final evaluator to share her evaluation. So please bear with me. Okay, it's now time for our final evaluation. So please help me invite evaluator Toastmaster Madhura. Over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Toastmaster Amish. I hope I'm audible and visible to all. Uh, yeah. Toastmaster Varun, I literally felt that I was sitting in an auditorium and watching a play while I saw you deliver this speech. And thank you for making me nostalgic of the times I used to visit the theater to watch a play. And this was nonetheless a fabulous performance. Now, just like a play, I felt this performance had a part one, an interval, and a part two. So let me tell you how I felt about the part one. There were so many great things in the first half of the play that totally blew my mind. Firstly, I like how you lucidly structured this speech. You had a very great opening that hooked me on the spot. And then the way this speech seamlessly flowed and concluding it with a very inspiring message was something that kept me engaged throughout this experience. Secondly, I also loved how you sprinkled it with humor and with props, elevating this experience even further. I loved the way you used your facial expressions and your body language and making it so animated and alive that it not just made it more spirited, but also made sure to create the situational humor that was intended to. But what I loved the most about your speech was how you made sure about the story getting conveyed in the most impactful way. Toastmaster Varun, you are a brilliant storyteller, and that was something very evident the way you crafted this story. An amazing plot with a climax. It was a hero's journey filled with characters, and I could see it delivering so well. And I would definitely urge you to keep doing this over again in your next speeches. Now coming to the interval. Here are a few things I would like to share with you in this interval, which can help to take this performance even further the next time. Firstly, as we're talking about the hero's journey, I felt that you had a great variety of characters. The hero's journey is supposed to be from how it starts from a struggle and the transformation that it brings to the character, which was you. However, I could see the role played by the mentor and the catalyst very well, but it struggled to deliver the impact on the hero. You were still awkward towards the end of the third act, and it limited the growth or showing the scope of growth that happened to you. So, that is something you can work upon in your next speech. I would also urge you to prepare more next time, since there were a few crutch sounds that were very visible and also some issues with time management. So, looking at the same, I would urge you to try to time the speech beforehand itself. Again, it felt a bit like buffering a YouTube video, so good preparation would help you deliver a more engaging performance. And lastly, I would like to say that it was a fabulous journey where you used your amazing storytelling skills, your facial expressions and gestures, and I would like to urge you to bolster it further with greater depth to characters and some more performance. And I'm sure you'll get a full house next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Madhura. With that, we've come to an end of our practice session that we had. Could the timer Nilima please share the timings taken by each of our practitioners today?
Toastmaster Sangeetha took 2 minutes and 28 seconds. Toastmaster Indranil took 3 minutes and 18 seconds. And Toastmaster Madhura speech was 3 minutes and 40 seconds.
All right, thank you very much. So if this was a contest scenario, we would have one disqualification due to time, and that is Toastmaster Madhura. So you did mention about the point of time. So it's also feedback for yourself, I guess, but you need to be aware of the time taken to deliver the evaluation. Now, before we hear from our evaluation mentor about her feedback, I would like each of you to reflect for a moment. What was one thing you deliberately tried to do differently in your evaluations today? And whilst we do that, I would now like to invite our mentor for today, Toastmasters Sneha, to share her thoughts on the speech.
Thank you so much, Amish. And those were some great evaluations. All three of them were very nice. But I still believe that there is scope for a little bit changes and modifications here and there, not much. So let me start by giving feedback on Sangeetha's evaluation. Sangeetha, I felt that you gave good points about the moments you enjoyed in the speech, and you also spoke about um, the moments that the last moments with Vijay the last girl who came, and how you observed that stood out to you. It was a great observation. I just think that if you could open the speech with one line about how it affected you personally, maybe something like, you reminded me of this movie, or you reminded me of this character in my life, something like that. Because I just saw that you started right away with the commendations, right? So instead of that, just have one introductory line so that the speaker knows that now you're transitioning into the commendation part. Otherwise, it was good. Structure, I just felt you gave 3 likes, 3 commendations, and 2 recommendations. So instead of that, we can have 1 like or 1 commendation after the recommendation. So that in the end, you're leaving the speaker with a positive note, right? So 2 commendations, 1 recommendation, and then 1 commendation later. All right. Otherwise, it was a great observation. Very well done. Okay. Now I come to the second evaluator, Indranil. Indranil, it was a very well delivered, a very good word choice. I mean, you used very good word choice in your validation. Both the things stood out to me. I love the point about visual. You said that you made the story very visual for us. I love that word choice because it was actually like a movie running in front of you. So, and also the way you mentioned why and how in your recommendations. You said that this is how you can conclude and this is how you can improve the call to action. And you gave an example for that as well. And why would it help? Because it will give us room to breathe and imbibe your message. That was a great suggestion. I just felt that when you spoke about humor, because I believe Varun's entire speech was humorous speech only, that we could see. What really stood out to you in that humor part, if you could just elaborate on that, maybe the exaggeration that he used, when he said that I could have got to the Oscars, or when he said that it was the most awkward hug in the history of theater. Those were some exaggerated lines that he used in, his humorous speech. So what particularly stood out to you? Just mention that. That would give the speaker one heads up. All right. Otherwise, it was a very seasoned, very good evaluation. I enjoyed it. You structured it very well. Thank you.
If I may, Sneha, so I had noted that down. For some reason, I missed mentioning it, but it was for me, how he grabbed the hand instead of the apple. It was so visual and so hilarious. So that was like a standout moment for me. But yes, I really take your point that I had noted it down, but for some reason I just missed mentioning it during the speech.
Yes. You can just work on that. That what particular element of humor stood out for you? All right. Now I move on to our third speaker, Madhura. Madhura, again, I loved your evaluations up, especially the theatrical elements that you used. You said that it was a hero's journey, and let me divide that in 3 movie parts and theatrical parts. So that those references from theater, because it was a speech based on theater, you use that. So very creative evaluation, I must say. And you started on a personal note as well, that I felt that I was watching a theater show and I was watching a movie unfold in front of me. That's how it immediately tells the speaker that you were into that speech. So it connects the speaker with you and it builds trust in you as an evaluator. So great job. I also love the fact how you mentioned about the animated expressions and how those expressions made it alive for you. And the recommendation part as well, when you mentioned that the mentor that when he struggles to explain you the lesson, that be uncomfortable in comfort, that could have been a little more concrete, and you talked about that. So great suggestion. The only suggestion is, the timing. So once the yellow card is up, you start summing up. Otherwise, I have seen so many great evaluators being voted out only for this reason. And it gets really embarrassing. So just start summing up once the yellow card is up. Otherwise, and I also like the word you use, bolster it later. You can bolster it later. So great word choice, great structure. Only the timing is something we need to consider. Great. Thank you, Madhura. All right. That is it from me. Amish, over to you.
Thank you very much, Toastmasters Sneha. Some valuable insights there on how our practitioners today could have added more uh, thoughts to their evaluations. If I may have the courage to actually add something myself, I felt one thing that could have been done by Toastmaster Varun today when he was delivering his speech, and we had two female characters that were introduced. So we had Shanti and Vaijanti. So in that, perhaps there could be a dialogue between the two female characters speaking to Varun. So perhaps Toastmaster, so our first one, Shanti, saying something to him, greeting him like, "Hi Varun, how are you?" Something like that. So that would add to his anxiety. And then he would have to enact the Varun part as well. So switching between characters, I guess that would elevate his humor as well. So that is what I felt could have been done. But all in all, thank you very much, everyone, for participating in this activity. Before we actually close, I would just like to have a small presentation ceremony where we are felicitating our participants today who took part in this wonderful workshop. So may I now please invite our club president, Toastmaster Indranil, to actually hand over the certificates to the respective role players today. Starting with our evaluation mentor, Toastmaster Sneha. Thank you very much for your time today. I'll share my screen with the certificate. Can we all please have a round of applause for Toastmaster Sneha?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Wait, Amish, I will click a pic.
Yeah.
Done. Thanks.
Next, can I please invite our practice speaker for today, Toastmaster Varun? If you could please switch on your camera, yes, then I can spotlight you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Amish, for this opportunity.
I will click the pic right now.
Yes.
Thank you. Done.
Thank you. My Zoom has started playing up. Okay, next it is our time for our evaluators to be felicitated. So can I please invite our first evaluator practitioner, Toastmaster Sangeetha? I'll add it to spotlight. Here's screen. And you can take your own screenshot. Or would you like someone else to help you?
I'll take it.
Okay.
Thank you, Toastmaster.
All right. Next, we have our club president, who is also our evaluation practitioner, Toastmaster Indranil. So I just have to remove one spotlight and leave you on the spotlight. I'll share my screen. Okay.
I will take
Toastmaster
the pic.
Sangeetha? Yeah. Yes, please.
Done. Thank you.
Okay. Finally, we have our last evaluation practitioner, Toastmaster Madhura. I'll add you to the spotlight. Okay, someone else has done that. Thank you. I'll quickly share my screen.
I will take the pic. Thank you, done.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sangeetha, Amish, and thank you so much, Sneha, for the insight.
And last but not the least, it is time to felicitate me being the workshop facilitator today. So I guess I am already on. Toastmaster Sanat has also joined us. Thank you, Toastmaster Sanat. I'll share my screen with my certificate.
I will take the pic.
Thank you, Toastmaster Amish, for hosting the session.
Thank you, done.
Okay. All right. Now, before we close, just a few concluding thoughts. When we started today, I had asked a simple question: what turns a good evaluation into a contest level evaluation? I think we have discovered today it isn't simply finding more ways to say something about the evaluation. It's about observing better, thinking more critically, prioritizing wisely, communicating specifically, and delivering with impact. To our evaluation practitioners, your preparation for contest season doesn't end with today's workshop. It actually begins with what you choose to do differently after today. On behalf of Readers and Debaters Toastmasters Club, I would like to thank all of you, including special thanks to our evaluation mentor, our practice speaker, and each of the evaluation practitioners for making today's learning possible. Learn, observe, evaluate, defend, refine. With that, I declare this evaluation mastery workshop concluded. Thank you, everyone. Now the floor is open to any discussions.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me. And Varun, it was a great speech. I'm sure you're participating in HSC this year.
Thank you
Toastmaster
so
Varun,
much,
you still there?
Toastmaster Sneha. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Sneha.
Yeah, wonderful speech.
Toastmaster Varun, are you also okay with me to spill the beans on a bit of context about our evaluation practitioners?
I don't know about Varun, but please, yes, please. We would love to hear.
So not giving away much about the actual speech itself, but I would like to add that our final evaluator today, Toastmaster Madhura, also happens to be Toastmaster Varun's mentor. So she already knew
Oh.
about this speech, but then she was very professional in her evaluation. You could tell, and I could also tell how much content she had to add to the evaluation. She ended up going overtime. So that is how much she wanted to correct Varun's speech. But yes, Varun's speech actually had a lot of content, a lot of good things to say about. So that's that little bit of extra context I wanted to add. It just happened to be by chance. Like, Toastmaster Madhura reached out to me asking for an evaluation session, and I told her we have a workshop and your club president is joining us. And she just jumped on the opportunity. And it was only after that I discovered that she is actually Varun's mentor. So it all kind of the pieces fit together and we had a beautiful puzzle there. So a bit of trivia for our guests and people who are attending today. So I
Oh,
hope
okay.
everyone liked today's session. Yes, I'm like requesting anyone to just share your thoughts, how you felt about today's session. Was it valuable for everyone? Did it prepare you better for the contests? And post that, we can perhaps stop the recording as well and then just have our regular conclusion for the meeting.
Maybe I can share some thoughts for the session today. So firstly, a big thank you to you.